Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright? Emergency pod is what these are called. And let me tell you how my night went last night. So my dad is out of town, in from Kansas City, kind of a last minute trip because it is my niece's birthday. So he came in town to see her, and my wife and I took him out to dinner last night. And so if my dad and I don't get together that often, but if we do get together, it's going to be an incredibly long dinner and a lot of wine. So that was a 3-hour dinner, my dad, my wife, and I. And then afterwards, my dad heads back to my sister's, and my wife says, we haven't gone out like we used to in quite some time. I was a bottle of wine in. I'm not driving. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we end up going downtown in New York, a couple different spots. And while we are in a way too loud, far too many people, so much younger than me, as I am the old guy in the club, I look at my phone and I read this. Breaking. The Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. Sources tell ESPN from Shams Charania. And I have the reaction that I think literally everyone has. Oh, dude got hacked. Definitely not real. Impossible that it could be real. He then follows it up with, yes, this is real, and has the full trade. But again, that means nothing to me. Because if you got hacked, the same person has control of your account, you then tweeting, yes, this is real. I send the tweet to people who would be directly involved in such a thing. And before I even get a response, the main ESPN account tweets it. And my reaction at that moment is like everyone else's. Holy shit, what just happened? Is this the biggest trade in NBA history? Maybe, but maybe not. You don't want to be too prisoner of the moment-y. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was traded in the peak of his prime in a decade when he was winning 6 league MVPs. So that's a pretty big one. That Shaquille O'Neal obviously changed teams. We've had apex predator stars change teams. So I don't know if it's the biggest trade in NBA history. It is the most shocking. There is nothing. And when I say shocking, not just to the audience, to the league. Other teams didn't know. Other agents didn't know. Other players didn't know. There is no context for what we just saw. Luka entering, not even yet officially, really, technically in his prime, even though it sure feels like he's been in his prime since his second year in the league. But age-wise, your prime in the league is supposed to be 27 to 31. Luka at 25 being traded without a trade demand, a preemptive strike by Dallas, and Dallas's return being a great player in Anthony Davis. But again, if prime is 27 to 31, a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, and it is just mind blown. So I then tweeted about it. I went on IG Live from the club. That could have been a terrible mistake. It ended up going quite well, and then something happened with my phone where it's not even saved. It's not even posted. You had to be one of those few thousand people watching me live, and I don't even know if you could hear me, or else that's lost to the ether. So here's what we're going to do. It's not going to be the normal hour-long pod. Never done. I think I've maybe done one other emergency pod. I don't know. Lakers perspective, Luka's perspective, LeBron's perspective, the Mavs perspective, and Anthony Davis's perspective. Those are the 5 angles. We're going to attack each one individually. We're going to start with the Lakers. I do not know. So what does it mean for the Lakers right now, this moment? I'm not sure the Lakers actually, for this year, got demonstrably better. And I know that sounds insane. They're going to have one of, if not the best offense in basketball. That's going to happen now. You now have two of the best generators of offense in NBA history in LeBron James, who's still, and he showed it to you last night, against a good Knicks team on the road without AD. Old man still got it. 33, 12, and 11 just because, yeah, I'm in the Garden, so I'm going to rev up to still being able to get to whatever my apex is right now. I can get there in the biggest spots. You then add to him a guy who is, with no disrespect to SGA, a top 3 player. So offensively, the Lakers are going to be extraordinary. Defensively, they were already bad and they lost their only rim protection. And so for this year, I know their championship odds went from like 50 to 1 to 20 to 1. Everything I know about the history of the NBA says you can't be as bad as they're going to be defensively and have a real shot at the championship. But honestly, it doesn't matter. That's not the point of this trade. The point of this trade, if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, is you now are set for the next half decade, and that's being conservative. If Luka likes it there, you're set for the next decade. You have, there are 3 guys that are just better than every player in the league. Jokic, Giannis, and Luka. And now you have one of them. And now when we zoom out for the last half decade for the Lakers, they flipped Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and what ends up being 4 first-round picks for a championship in 2020 and Luka Doncic. The Anthony Davis trade got you a championship, and then Anthony Davis plus 1 more first-round pick got you Luka Doncic. And the Lakers probably aren't done. The Lakers have to go get a big. They just have to. Jackson Hayes is not, like, if they're actually going to try to compete this year. But even if they don't, it's simply one of the biggest coups in the history of basketball. And there are so many ways to try to build a perennial contender in the NBA. You can do what Oklahoma City did, which is draft exceptionally, take your shot, cash your chips out at the right time, rebuild, picks, draft exceptionally again, and then have your contender. Make a savvy trade, see something in SGA the rest of the league doesn't quite see. That's one method. Another method is what the Spurs are trying to do. Literally hit the draft lottery, get a generational talent, hope he wants to be there. Another method is the Knicks, what they've tried to do. See something in a player in Jalen Brunson the rest of the league doesn't quite see. Go get him, see him ascend. Be judicious with your draft picks and then go all in. There's all these smart, long-term ways to build a contender. The other way is just be the fucking Lakers. And seemingly be mismanaged for a half decade. And then LeBron James is like, I want to play for you. And get him. And then he helps you get Anthony Davis. And then a half decade later, the Dallas Mavericks call you and say, they call you and say, can I interest you in Luka Doncic? To which you say, yeah, you can. Now, the Mavs side of this is far uglier. And the Mavs are going to try to spin, evidently, that they were worried about how in shape Luka was. And they were worried about giving him the Supermax. If Luka's not worth the Supermax, then no one is. Whenever we talk about the best players in the league, the other thing you got to remember is, even if you want to include Shea in that top 3 and call it a top 4, in something that is true, but no one ever believes when you tell them, Shea, older than Luka. Luka's 25, Shea's 26. Obviously, Jokic and Giannis, considerably older than both of them. So if you're the Mavs, you didn't hold an auction, you didn't get a bounty, you got 1 first-round pick, no swaps, you didn't get Dalton Connect, you didn't get Austin Rivers. Now, again, I'm not downplaying who Anthony Davis is. Anthony Davis is a great player. But he is 6 years older and he is not Luka Doncic. And you're doing it on the heels of Luka the last 3 years in Dallas. Luka carries you to the conference finals. Then you have a disaster year. And then he carries you to the NBA finals. You pull off a risky Kyrie Irving trade, and it works. And to now have flipped, and here's the other thing for Dallas. They, in the Kyrie trade and the other trades they've made, they've traded a lot of their future draft. So not to get too in the weeds, but I'm looking at it right now on Real GM. 2027, their first round pick to Charlotte. 2028, their first round pick can be swapped with Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is going to be really good, so I would imagine that's a swap that'll take place. 2029, their first round pick to either Houston or Brooklyn. That's a complicated one, but they don't have it. 2030, they swap picks with San Antonio. So 2020, where did it start? 2027 to 2030, you don't have your own draft pick. You either don't have a first or you're swapping with San Antonio, who by 2030 should be awesome, or Oklahoma City, who in 2028 will be awesome. And now you're leaning on, is Kyrie 32 now? A 32, turning 33 next month, Kyrie Irving. And a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, who again is a great player. And he turns 32 next month as well. And what you don't have is a bunch of these other future picks to replenish all the picks you traded away trying to win now with Luka. I don't understand this from the Mavs' perspective at all. I don't understand how you don't hold an auction. All the reporting surrounding this is that Luka did not demand this. That they were, and again, I'm sure people are going to talk about the fact that he mainlined sweet tea or that he's out of shape. Who gives a shit? He was just in the NBA Finals. He's one of the greatest offensive players in modern NBA history. And how does this land for Kyrie? How does this land for Anthony Davis? Has to be, I mean, not just shocked, but devastated. And I do not believe anyone arguing, well, actually, for this year, the Mavs got better. No, they didn't. Luka in the playoffs is one of the most prolific players in the last 30 years offensively. And you'd be like, what about the defense? I don't know, man. They were in the finals last year. Luka's career in the playoffs, again, 2020, 31, 10, and 9. The entirety of that series was with Kawhi or Paul George guarding him. He's 20 years old. Or I guess let me make sure. Would he have turned? Okay, no, he's 21. He turned 21 before those playoffs. So 2021, again, with Kawhi or Paul George guarding him the whole time in the playoffs, 36, 8, and 10. He's 22 years old. Then he carries them to the conference finals, going through a Phoenix team that everyone loved. He's 32, 10, and 6. And then last year, he carries them to the NBA finals, 41 minutes per game, 29, 10, and 8. And you traded him. You traded him. For a player 6 years older than him who's not quite as good, Max Christie, and 1 first-round pick. And by the way, the Lakers' first-round pick in 2029, not going to be that valuable. You know why? Because Luka's on the team. All right, what does this mean for LeBron? Again, there will be, it's inevitable. It hasn't yet happened. I tweeted that it was going to, last night, that it would happen by Monday, and I imagine it will. By Monday, there will be folks on your television screens explaining how LeBron orchestrated this, or LeBron ran AD out of town, or that is, I can tell you with, I don't know if it's firsthand sourcing, but it's close. That's nonsense. Again, I'm not certain. This makes the Lakers such a different team this year. I don't know how much it helps LeBron this season from a odds to win the championship standpoint. What it does allow for is Luka's LeBron's favorite player in the league. There is a great clip, LeBron on the pod with the Road Trippin' Pod, Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye, and I think it's Allie Clifton, years ago, where he says Luka was the first and only player he's ever tried to sign to be a LeBron athlete on his shoe line. But Jordan got him. And he talked about how much he loves Luka's game. And Luka's talked forever about how he's modeled his kind of game after LeBron's. Those two guys playing together on the very back end of LeBron's career is going to be absolutely remarkable to see. Now, is it possible this year that they realize, well, their skills are kind of redundant and we need to figure out how we're going to guard wings, and this pairing, while fun from a winning 4 playoff series perspective, not great, and therefore next offseason, for what everyone assumes next year will be LeBron's final year, that the Lakers and LeBron talk and figure out, do you want to finish here? Should you finish here? Or is there that Steph-LeBron pairing that everyone's been hinting about for years? Is there a way to make that happen? Sure, that might be on the board. But seeing these two basketball savants, true geniuses, play together in what is probably at least the second to last year of LeBron's career, and maybe the last year of his career, just from a pure basketball fan standpoint, is going to be unbelievable. What does it mean for Luka? And here is, I think, the most important piece of this. Maybe I should have led with it if it's the most important piece. I think this is the single greatest thing that could ever happen to Luka Doncic, the basketball player. He is going to see firsthand the level of professionalism, taking care of your body, that it takes to reach his full potential. And what Luka's full potential is, his full potential is one of the 10 greatest players of all time. That's what it is. And even without reaching his full potential, he's going to be one of the 25 greatest players of all time. He's going to be a multiple-time MVP. But if he can glean a bit from LeBron on, because the off-the-court stuff, the way to really stay in shape. And again, Luka played in the Olympics. Luka plays, I'm sure Luka's argument is, guys, I play as much basketball as is humanly possible. Leave me alone if I, enjoy hookah and, some fatty acids. But he's dealt with a few injuries. He obviously can wear down a bit. And so, learning from LeBron on that changes the trajectory of his career. And I can't, listen, this, for me, this is my all-time favorite player ever in LeBron, now playing on the same team with my second favorite player in the league in Luka. It's the greatest player of all time and my large adult Slovenian son together. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I also, again, what does it mean basketball-wise? Because at the end of games, both Luka and still even 40 years old, there aren't three guys in the world who you'd rather have ball in their hand, final 5 minutes of a playoff game, dictating everything. Three guys you'd rather have more than LeBron. But if there are, one of them's Luka. And so, I don't know how they're going to sort that out. But that's one of them good problems. And again, defensively, the Lakers, I have to imagine they're going to make another move. And they also now have no size. It's a weird team. But Luka's on the Lakers. And now, then we go to Anthony Davis quickly. I think this sucks for AD. I think that Anthony Davis has done everything right. He did do everything he could to take care of his body. We saw it pay dividends last year. I think he thought, I'm going to be a Laker forever. And now gets shipped to Dallas with that weird new ownership situation. I think it's fair to say, based on this trade, a front office that seems to be out of their minds. And people don't understand what kind of a special player it takes to get all the great basketball stuff out of Kyrie and not have to worry about the other stuff, which to Kyrie's credit, it has really gone away since he went to Dallas. I wonder how this lands. Man, Kyrie's a thoughtful guy. And the shockwave of, man, this team just knifed Luka. And knifed is the wrong word because Luka's probably happy. But preemptively traded Luka, I don't know how that impacts Kyrie. So I say all that to say this. I would be shocked if the Mavs win a playoff series this year. Shocked. And that's not an... Listen, I love AD. I think he's an excellent player. But right now they're sitting there at the 8 seed. AD's injured. I just cannot believe the Mavericks did this. And I cannot believe you traded Luka Doncic under the, cover of night. You didn't come away with young players, 100 draft picks, and a full franchise reboot. Instead, you got an awesome future Hall of Famer that's about to be 32 and 1 first-round pick. It is... Like, what would... Now, maybe the answer is not as much as you think because he wasn't going to re-sign. But what would the Spurs have given you to be able to pair Wemby and Luka? Also, was this trade not going to be there in 6 months? After you get one more playoff run, again, out of a guy who just took you to the NBA Finals. I am beyond stunned. And I guess, I don't know that I want to give Rob Pelinka credit because I don't think that guy's been very good at his job at all. But you just got Luka Doncic. You still have picks to trade. You still have swaps you can make. You still have Austin Reeves. You still have Dalton Connect. You can make moves. And the Lakers are sitting there coming off a great win when LeBron looked awesome. Here's the thing about it. And again, it's one game, I understand. But the Lakers played Saturday night in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks without Anthony Davis and won. So that Lakers team, that when LeBron gets to that level, is really good offensively. Really good. Just added Luka Doncic. And I'm just staring right now at the standings, like thinking, what other teams would have just said, take everything? So Oklahoma City obviously has all the picks in the world, but they're happy with where they're at. And, so that probably wouldn't make sense. Houston's got a lot of picks. Would Houston have given you Jalen Green, 1 million picks, others like Dylan Brooks or whatever other salaries to make it work, and then all of a sudden you have Şengün and Luka and Thompson? I cannot believe this is all Dallas got. And I don't think anyone in the league can. And the Lakers now, it's really unbelievable if you're a Laker fan. If you're a Mavs fan, if you're a man, kids that are Mavs fans, I don't know what the parents do this morning. Explain to them that this happened. Just devastation. But if you're a Lakers fan, I don't care how old you are. You have had on your team one of the 10 greatest players of all time without interruption from the mid 70s until Kobe's retirement. I guess the early, well, there was two, you know what, let me do it a different way. There have been, with basically from the start of the league to now, whether it was West and Wilt, Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, and now Luka, we can go 65 years. And there were, if I added up all the seasons, maybe 10 total. The early 70s, the mid 90s, and post Kobe, pre LeBron. 10, 12 years total. You did not have one of the historic, again, 10 greatest players of all time at or near the peak of his powers on your team. And now Luka's not that yet, but I think he's going to be. And he's going to do it in a Lakers jersey. Good for them, man. And if you're the Mavs, I mean, a year ago, you have 24-year-old Luka Doncic, an owner in Mark Cuban. That's awesome. Getting ready to go to the finals. Cuban's gone. Luka's gone. You're now fighting to, get out of the play-in, which you're not going to do. And your team's built around a soon-to-be 32-year-old and a soon-to-be 33-year-old who have both dealt with injury issues. And you don't have your picks in 27, 28, 29, or 30. And you have one extra pick, the Lakers' 2029 pick, which, again, is not going to be that valuable because they now have Luka Doncic. What is the Lakers' next game? At the Clippers, February 4th. Luka's obviously injured. Home for Golden State Thursday. I cannot wait to see that first Luka and LeBron game. Their first national TV game, assuming Luka is not playing this week. Saturday, February 22nd. Saturday night on ABC against the Nuggets. And then Tuesday, circle this one. Tuesday, February 25th on TNT. The Lakers host the Dallas Mavericks. Unbelievable. So there it is. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm still a little stunned, but I cannot wait to watch Luka and LeBron play together. And again, I joke on the TV show, I have a fake news hat. The hat is fake, the news is real. LeBron was almost as shocked by this as you guys were. And again, I don't know that if the only goal, like from LeBron's perspective, is like win a title this year, I don't know how much closer this makes the Lakers this year, but for the Lakers as a team, it's one of the greatest coups in NBA history.